Oh, what a spectacle it must have been. Piers Morgan, that brash, unstoppable force of nature, a hurricane of wit and words, sitting face to face with His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, a man whose very breath seems to whisper peace, whose laughter dances like a breeze through ancient trees. Can you see it in your mind's eye? The British journalist, a titan carved from the gritty world of tabloids and television, his voice booming from the Daily Mirror to CNN's Piers Morgan Tonight, locking eyes with Tenzin Gyatso, born in 1935 in a quiet Tibetan village, a child of farmers who became a global icon of serenity after China's iron fist forced him into exile in 1950. Their paths didn't just cross once, no, twice they met. Twice they wove this extraordinary tapestry of thought and feeling. It was 2012 first at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, where Morgan caught the Dalai Lama mid-medical visit, his questions slicing through the air with a mix of sharpness and playfulness. Then, in 2016, for ITV's Good Morning Britain, a 40-minute, uncut, special, unfurled, a deeper, more intimate plunge into the monk's gentle, giggling soul. Journalist Piers Morgan once interviewed the Dalai Lama about religious and political issues. Their conversation focused on the role of compassion in the modern world. Such simple words, aren't they? A fleeting sketch of something so vast, so alive. Oh, how they tease at the edges of a profound encounter, daring us to peel back the layers and ask, what does it mean to chase compassion in a world that so often turns its back on it? Let's dive in, heart first, and wander through this story together, because it's not just theirs, it's ours too. Picture that first meeting in 2012. A sterile clinic room transformed by the Dalai Lama's presence, his maroon robes a splash of warmth against the cold white walls. Morgan, ever the provocateur, leaned in. Celibacy. How do you manage it? And the Dalai Lama, with that twinkle in his eye, that giggle that could melt ice, shot back, I'm a monk, not a playboy. Oh, how the room must have lit up with that laugh. It wasn't just an answer, it was a window into a life of chosen simplicity, a life stripped of the trappings we cling to. Morgan didn't stop there. He pressed on, asking about faith's edges. Could it heal a broken body or just a weary mind? The Dalai Lama tilted his head, his words soft but firm. Beyond the psychological, he doubted it. A humble honesty that cut through dogma like a blade. Then came politics. George W. Bush, a name that sparked wars and headlines. A good human being, the Dalai Lama mused, even as he disagreed with the man's choices. Can you feel the weight of that? To see goodness amid conflict, to hold peace above judgment. What a rare gift. Fast forward to 2016 and the stage shifts. Morgan's back, this time with Trump in the air, that brash billionaire storming toward power. He mimicked Trump's swagger, and the Dalai Lama giggled again, a sound like bells in a storm. I'll judge him if he's elected, he said, his curiosity a shield against scorn. Syria's refugees poured into the conversation next, their pain, a silent scream across borders, and ISIS loomed, a shadow of violence. The Dalai Lama didn't flinch. He met it all with a calm that could quiet oceans, a voice that seemed to say, there's another way. Isn't that life itself, dear friend? This dance of spirit and power, faith and fury, don't we wrestle with it every day, in our quiet moments and our loud ones? Morgan, with his tabloid-honed flair, played the bridge between worlds. Sacred and profane, lofty and low. He asked, how does a monk with no wealth, no wife, no children find meaning? How does faith stand up to terror? The answers didn't roar. They whispered, wrapped in that trademark chuckle, a reminder that truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. In 2012, Morgan distilled it into a 7-point guide to happiness, straight from the Dalai Lama's lips. Oh, what a treasure. Human beings are all equal, it began, a radical cry in a world of hierarchies. Do not harm others, it urged, simple yet seismic. Love, compassion, and concern for others are real sources of happiness. Stop right there, Will. You? Isn't that a thunderbolt to our modern madness? We chase gold and glory, yet here's a man saying happiness lies in giving, in caring. Money and power will not bring you peace, he went on, and I can almost hear Morgan smirking as he scribbled it down. A true hero is one who conquers his own anger and hatred. Oh, how that stings, how it sings. Education is vital. Yes, but not just books, hearts too. And finally, laughter really is the best medicine. Didn't he prove it with every giggle? Morgan, ever the showman, framed it as a free alternative to America's $11 billion self-help machine. Cheeky, brilliant, and oh so true. I wonder, could we live by that list? Could it heal us? By 2016, compassion stretched its wings wider, brushing against the globe's raw, bleeding edges. ISIS, those merchants of death, drew a sigh from the Dalai Lama. Genuine Muslims don't shed blood, he said, his voice a plea for calm. To over chaos, a call to see the humanity beneath the horror. Can you imagine the courage it takes to say that, to hold compassion for even the violent? Refugees flooded the talk, Syria's displaced, their homes dust and memory. Help them, he urged, his heart wide open, but let them return, rebuild. A vision not just of aid, but of dignity, of tomorrow. He turned to our schools then, our cold mechanical systems churning out grades, not souls. We focus too much on material things, he lamented. Teach compassion, teach ethics. Oh, how that echoes. Don't we see it too? The kids who know calculus but not kindness. The world that builds skyscrapers but forgets hearts. And yet, here's the twist. Morgan couldn't resist a detour, could he? Kim Kardashian's Twitter followers? Really, Piers? Brangelina's divorce? Seriously? Who? The Dalai Lama laughed, and I laughed with him, a burst of joy cutting through the noise. Did those tangents dim compassion's light, or make it glow brighter against the absurdity? Tell me, friend, can we hold both, the sacred and the silly, and still find our way? Step back with me now. Let's breathe in this modern world they spoke of. What is it, if not a cacophony of screens and screams, wars and wants? Terrorism rips at our hearts. Climate begs for mercy. Fame drowns out wisdom. We're drowning in it, aren't we? Into this chaos steps the Dalai Lama, whispering, "Compassion is the way." Not vengeance, not greed, just care. When he spoke of ISIS with restraint, of Trump with curiosity, didn't he show us something? That even in the darkest corners we can choose light. The wound is the place where the light enters you, Rumi once wrote. Could compassion be that light, slipping through our cracks? Morgan, bless his chaotic soul, played both jester and sage. His brashness crashed against the monk's calm, and yet it worked, like thunder kissing dawn. He asked about Arsenal's football woes, yes, his beloved team, and his own man. Flew, and the Dalai Lama laughed again. Oh, how that laughter slices through our cynicism, our heaviness. It says, life is a burden, yes, but joy is our birthright, our rebellion. Maybe that's the real philosophy here, the quiet truth humming beneath it all. Compassion isn't dour or distant. It's alive, it dances, it giggles in the face of despair. But let's linger on those moments, shall we? In 2012, Morgan didn't just ask about faith. He asked about fame. What do you think of meeting Richard Gere? He prodded, name-dropping a Hollywood Buddhist. The Dalai Lama shrugged, unfazed. Stars didn't dazzle him, souls did. What about me? Morgan pressed, fishing for a compliment, and the monk just smiled. Oh, that smile. It was kindness, not flattery, and Morgan ate it up, spinning it into a tale for his viewers. In 2016, he went further, playfully begged for a blessing for Arsenal, asked if the Dalai Lama could cure his sniffles. No miracles, came the reply, but that laugh was miracle enough, wasn't it? And the viewers, didn't they feel it too? Some cheered Morgan for showing this holy man's humor, his humanity. Others groaned online, YouTube comments dripping with frustration. Why waste time on football when he could have asked about peace, about suffering? Fair. Oh, so fair. But isn't there wisdom in the wandering? Doesn't the lightness lift us toward the deep? Let's talk about that statement again. Focused on compassion. It's a spark, not the fire, a glimpse, not the full blaze. It's true, yes. Compassion wove through their words like gold, but timid, too small for the sprawl of it all. It wasn't the sole star, it was a constellation amid Morgan's circus of questions. Its strength lies in naming the Dalai Lama's gift, a call to love in a loveless age, a lantern in our storm. Its flaw? It misses the mess, the Trump impressions, the celebrity quips, the Arsenal pleas that made these talks human, flawed, alive. Once forgets the encore, and focused skips the detours, the glorious tangents that spiced it all. But isn't life itself a detour, a wild, winding road? Don't we stumble into truth when we least expect it? Over coffee, in laughter, in the spaces between. I'd rewrite it with a flourish, a song. Piers Morgan, time and again, sat with the Dalai Lama, weaving through religion, politics, and the wild, beating pulse of today, compassion their compass, humor their guide, a duet of chaos and calm. Because that's it, isn't it? Compassion isn't a lecture, it's a lived melody, and these two sang it, off-key and glorious. So here we stand, March 9th, 2025, gazing back at moments that shimmer still, ripples in time's vast pool. These weren't just chats, they were mirrors, held up to our rushing, raging, relentless world. They ask us, where's our compassion? For the stranger on the street, the enemy in our minds, the child within us crying for rest. The Dalai Lama, with his giggles and grace, his hands folded in quiet strength, and Morgan, with his chaos and charm, his voice a trumpet of curiosity. They remind us of a truth as old as the stars. We are not here to see through one another, but to see one another through. Oh, how that lands. It's not about piercing the veil. It's about holding hands across it, about lifting each other up when the weight presses down. What will you carry from this, dear friend? A laugh that echoes the Dalai Lama's, bright and free. A lesson, etched in those 7 points. Compassion over conquest, love over loot, or a longing, soft and persistent, to live kinder, to breathe deeper, to look at the world with eyes that seek not just answers, but understanding. Me, I'm left humming a quiet tune, a melody that weaves through my days. Compassion isn't just the Dalai Lama's creed. It's ours to claim, ours to cradle, ours to scatter like seeds in a weary world. I see him still, that monk in exile, laughing at Morgan's antics, and I see us too, stumbling, striving, searching for light. Tell me, will you claim it too? Will you let it guide you, this wild, tender thing called compassion, through the noise and the night? I hope you do. I hope we all do. Because in the end, isn't that what we're here for? To find our way back to each other, one giggle, one kindness, one brave, beating heart at a time?